In this session, we'll be discussing what are all the things could be asked in quadratic equation, what are the key concepts, and the last 5 years question paper analysis we'll see. For how much weightage they'll ask, those things we'll see. So first of all, this quadratic equation means it is an extension from the polynomials chapter. In polynomials, we have seen that the quadratic polynomial p of x is ax square plus bx plus c, like we have seen. Okay, and then this leading coefficient a should not be 0. This is called a quadratic polynomial. Whereas if we can able to write like ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, the same a not equal to 0. Simply instead of p of x we put 0. Here we call it as a quadratic polynomial. If you still want to call this an equation, we call this as polynomial equation, like we'll call. Okay, then here this is a quadratic equation. Okay, so this quadratic equation, the graph of this quadratic polynomial is a parabola that we seen in the polynomials, may be useful in this chapter also. Okay, we are going to discuss about solution of this quadratic equation. Okay, so the solution means the particular value of x that satisfies this equation. So how many such values? So here we call these numbers which makes this equation 0 as roots, root of a quadratic equation. When it is a polynomial, we call it as 0 of a quadratic polynomial. It depends on the sum author. They may call 0 or root also. It depends. But as per our CBSE book, we call 0 for polynomial, root for equation, quadratic equation. Okay. So it can have at most 2 roots. So here also we are lazy enough to find the roots for this. Okay, so what we can do means we can say what kind of roots they are. So for that we will be using the formula to find the roots. We use the formula that minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac by 2a. We use this formula, but all the time we can't able to we don't need to find this root of the equation. Sometimes we may have to say what kind of roots they are instead of finding them directly. By the time we use the help of the discriminant. See, this guy is called as discriminant. Why? He discriminates the roots. Classifying thing. Based on the behavior of this only, the nature of the roots is defined. So that is why we have this topic called nature of the roots. So suppose in this one we have this delta discriminant that is equals to 0. So this term fully vanishes. Then what we may have? We have x is equals minus b by a. Is it? Sorry, minus b by 2a. Is it? This will become 0, man, fully. Okay. So then by the time it will have a real and equal roots. Okay. Yes, make it first. And suppose the delta value is greater than 0, meaning it is not equal to 0, some value greater than 0. Okay, that means it's a positive number. So positive number means that discriminant part, the square root part will not be vanished, which means we may or may not take this out from the square root. So how it will become means it is real and unequal roots, like it will become. Suppose we can take this out also, not a problem, not out also not a problem, because we are not talking about rationalization here. What we are talking about here is whether it is real or not. So if you substitute this value is greater than 0, it may or may not be taken out, but this will not vanish. What we will have is a real and unequal roots. And suppose this delta is less than 0, it became a negative number. Negative number inside the square root is prohibited, kind of prohibited. That gives you a complex number, but we should not use the word called complex. We are supposed to use no real. Okay, whenever it occurs, you should say no real. Like this, we should use. So here, no real roots. Okay, these are the nature of the roots. Based on this only, they may ask questions. Either they may give the equation, tell you to find the roots of the equation, or they may give the nature of the roots, what kind of roots they are with one unknown. That kind of questions will be there. Apart from that, some other theory questions are there. We'll see the paper analysis at the end of this video. And this also, we have two sub cases. It's not part of CBSE, but they may ask some questions regarding this. Here, if it is a square root, perfect square, if it is a perfect square, then we may have rational roots. Both roots will be rational and unequal. Okay. Suppose if it is not a perfect square, it's greater than 0 case only, two sub cases. It is not a perfect square means we have irrational roots. Okay. How that will be mean? That irrational roots will occur in conjugate pairs. The irrational and the complex roots always occur in conjugate pairs. Now, the methods to solve a quadratic equation. We have two methods. One is by factorization and the other is by quadratic formula. Only this method. This is called the quadratic formula. Suppose you can't able to factorize it, you should use this quadratic formula. The factorization should always contain the step that splitting the middle term. That step it should be there. Okay. For example, you are given a quadratic equation like x square plus 5x plus 6. By multiplication 6, addition plus 5. 2 3s are. You should not directly write x plus 2 into x plus 3. You may not get full marks. Rather, you should split the middle term and then take the common things out. Like 2 more steps should be shown. Okay. Then only. Also, while solving this quadratic equation, this implies sign. Whenever you are using implies sign, you should be really careful. If you don't know where to use it, don't use it. Okay. You should not put like implies for everything. Okay. That is it. These are the do's and don'ts and basic types of questions. And then theory questions also they may ask. Age related questions they may ask. And money related questions. And speed related questions. Those kind of questions they may ask. So the past 5-year analysis will see. See, in March 2018, they asked all the questions are NCERT textbook based questions. But there is only one 4 mark. 4 mark means case study questions. They asked in distance upstream, low stream, that boat and streams, that question they asked. Okay. And one 3 mark question they asked in speed of the train. Speed, distance, time, the train related question. A train got delayed, that kind of question they asked in 3 marks. Okay. And then 1 mark question, finding the unknown value of k, that one they asked. And then in the next year, consecutive year, 2018, the weightage was 8 marks. Now 2019, the weightage is only 1 4 mark, 1 mark they asked. Totally 5 marks only they asked. And 2020, it is been reduced to 3 marks. Okay. And it is notable that in 2019, they asked time and work, that kind of questions, like water tap problem. Okay. You are aware of those questions? Okay. That water tap questions, that was in our priority 3, remember? And 2023, later on 2020, see 2020 also they asked only 1 3 mark, that too based on this distance, that flight problem. Instead of train, flight, distance, time, that kind of question, flight problem. And then March 2023, they asked only for 5 marks. In that 5 marks, 1 case study and 1 unknown value, all are textbook based. Okay. And then March 2024, last year, the weightage was 6 marks. In that also they asked one word problem related to that flight timing, speed, distance, that kind of word problem they asked in 5 mark. Okay, and in the R question they asked nature of routes. So what we can understand from this last 5 years paper means they may ask all the questions based on the textbook. Mostly we got at least one case study. Whenever the weightage goes more than 5, it is differing year to year because it comes under algebra, right? So algebra means inside algebra they can modify that weightage. So what we can understand from this is surely one question will come from that distance type, flight type, flight distance, train distance, and boats upstream, downstream. That kind of question we can see, and then this what is it? Upstream, downstream, and water tap questions and case studies. Those things we should concentrate. Clear? So I hope you have revised the priority 3. The priority 3 has at least one sample question of each kind. Okay. So that is it. This is about this 5-year analysis. So based on this, we are going to go, do our preparations. So our preparations should include this kind of solving questions and then finding the unknown, finding the value of k. Likewise, find the unknown, that kind of question. And what is it? This word problems, age related questions and the speed related questions mainly. There is a high chance that they may ask these questions. Okay. Got it? Now based on this, we'll solve some questions and then we'll move on. Okay. Move on to next chapters. Next we'll see areas related to